Thank you very much, Barack. Okay, for those who don't know my name, my name is Hare, and I'm the publisher for CIO East Africa, an IT publication. What we'll do in this panel, we want to have a discussion. So I will get my panelists to introduce themselves very quickly, who they are, what they do, then we'll start our discussions. Okay? So I'll start from there.
Hi everyone. My name is Lilian, the Executive Director of Watoto Watch Network. And what we do at Watoto Watch Network is we raise awareness on child online protection. So we work in the schools, we work in churches, youth centers, we train the children directly, we train parents, the police, the members of the judiciary on dealing with matters child online safety.
Hello everyone, my name is Kimani. I'm from Serianu Limited. What we do at Serianu is we're an information security and cybersecurity firm based in Kenya, but with regional presence. We're also responsible for the cybersecurity report, which we do annually, just to get an understanding of the cybersecurity landscape within Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, and Ghana. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Good afternoon once again. My name is Nzano. I'm from the Communications Authority of Kenya. Particularly so from the National Computer Incident Response Team Coordination Center. What we basically do there with the National Point of Contact on cybersecurity matters, and we do coordination of cybersecurity in Kenya on behalf of all Kenyans and government.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ndego. I'm from Safaricom, a mobile operator here in Kenya. Hopefully all of you are subscribers. You don't. I will introduce Safaricom. Safaricom Toweza is the mobile operator that ensures that when we come together, great things happen. And that's why I'm here today, to continue doing great things together with you. I handle regulatory and policy for Safaricom, basically enabling conducive environment to do business. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Good afternoon. My name is Juliet, Maina. I'm from TripleOK Law Advocates, a law firm in Nairobi. And I work in the commercial department, specifically telecommunications, media and technology. And our interest here is in how cybersecurity is affecting adoption of technology and how regulation can help boost that adoption in the country. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you know who our panelists are. Oh, we have another panelist.
Hi everyone. My name is Chris Adem. I'm here representing Waudo Siganga of the Computer Society in Kenya. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we'll just jump straight in. And I just want to ask my panelists to, from their own perspective, to give us a report on what is the state of cybersecurity in the country. Who wants to go first? Serianu?
Thanks, Hare. So as I mentioned, we have an annual report, the cybersecurity report, that we do annually, and our key aim within that report is to try and get a trend analysis of how we're doing when it comes to cybersecurity. So we launched our last report in 2016, October, and based on our 2016 findings, we estimate $175 million were lost by Kenyans, Kenyan organizations, Kenyan individuals through cybercrime. This was an increase from 2015. The reason we attribute this is it comes down to three key areas: training and awareness. Low levels of training and awareness within our organizations means people are being hit and they don't understand how they were hit. Another issue was low budgets when it comes to cybersecurity within organizations. What that means is when it comes to reacting or preventing cybersecurity, we aren't putting the right finances or financial backing into that. So what happens is it's a very reactive response. We hit, and then that's when we start throwing money at the problem. But that doesn't fix our problem. So the third thing is now on the level of the insider. We have made sure in our organizations that we're looking at all external threats. We're making sure China isn't getting into our networks. But we forget the individual within our network who has all the credentials to come in, commit fraud, and walk away. I think we've already seen this even in the media when we talk about Hare and the individual who was actually caught and was held responsible for the fraud within Hare. So those are the three aspects within our report. I think the panel will also jump in on this as well.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with the report, and actually we did contribute to some of the inputs which were provided in that report. And yes, that's a status, really. And as I have mentioned, if you recall even when I read Pichi's remarks, one of the areas which are really coming up now is insider threats, and also malware, right? This ransomware is really much on the increase, and in most cases it finds us unawares. I think we will contribute more on the status, but I think also there's a lot of improvement, especially on what the government is doing. You will agree with me, nowadays there are much lesser government websites being defaced than there would be in their previous days, because the government has also put a lot of investments on securing their systems, and we have been on high alert in making sure that all the critical infrastructure and services being provided by government are more secure than ever before. So I think we have really improved in this area.
Juliet, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I also definitely agree with the points that have been made. And also, what I can add is the landscape is changing in that, whereas before cyber security or cybercrime was a very opportunistic activity, now it's becoming very lucrative, and people are deliberately investing in cybersecurity, in cybercrime, and in actually carrying out these crimes. So that's coupled with, from a legal perspective, the lack of, the inability for the laws to keep up with these changes is also increasing the level of cybercrime that we see, and that's now what the landscape that we're looking at in terms of cybercrime.
In my view, I think we still have some way to go. We are still, we've made some good attempts, I think, with the formation, for example, in 2012 of the Kenya National Computer Incident Response Team that is run from the CA to manage issues of cybersecurity specifically. I think there's still a lot of learnings being gained from by that team and probably being implemented into making things better. From the vulnerability we've seen, people getting exposed to malware, even as recent as, you know, in the recent months we've seen some of that happen. We have cases where we've heard of young men being able to even bring down government websites and so on and so forth. I don't think there is, I think there's still room to strengthen institutions a little more in being able to strengthen the internal security around cyber attacks and things like that. I think there's still also room, you know, she just mentioned the issue of, you know, laws, having the right laws in place. We have a cybersecurity bill still. We need to have a law in place that helps to tackle the issue of cybersecurity very conclusively. I think there's also a lot of opportunity maybe for citizens to become more aware of how to safeguard themselves. So empowerment of the citizens themselves in, you know, getting to know how to keep themselves secure from these kinds of attacks. I think there's still an opportunity there. So there is some progress that has been made, but there's still, I think, room for improvement all around, from institutions of government to private institutions as well as the citizens themselves.
I want to talk more on the cyber threats we are seeing among young people. I know I've mentioned about cyberbullying here before, even last year, when we saw now as the young people being the bullies and bullying the teachers. But now it keeps on mutating. Now what we're saying is the fear of, the memes, the negative memes. People stealing young people's photos, their children's photos, and reposting them and bullying them. And my fear is the fact that we don't have a policy. This will continue mutating, changing, and ways, to bully young people and they're bullying each other. Unless we come up with a policy and enforce it, that's not going to change. And another issue is, another trend that we've seen, the new trends, the dangerous online games. Yeah, you've heard about the whale. I know there are people coming together to create policies in regards to, the dangerous online games, but we also need to involve young people. They're the ones playing these games. What do we need to do about it? What policy do we need to put in place to protect them against these games? Another new trend that we've seen, I don't know if I can call it a threat, but a lot of teenagers are gambling online. They've taken into online betting. Yeah? I don't know if you're young people, you've seen them, betting, and they're looking up to you and seeing, they're betting. And as of yesterday, during the Youth Internet Governance Forum, young people don't see an issue with that. Okay? Majority of them are betting. So we need to, I know there's a policy in regards to betting for minors, 18 years and below, but unless it's enforced, we'll continue seeing more and more young people getting into betting. This is teenagers and young children.
I'd like to contribute just a little. I think what we have seen is an attitude change which is already occurring among Kenyans about cybercrime. And I think the recent cases of those malware attacks on the WannaCry, you remember, and the recent one called Expert, that one, I think, plus others, has really brought into perspective that, hey, these cybercrime issues are actually real and affecting our country. And I'm glad that a lot of things are taking place. I'm very, very happy about what the country is doing right now, especially the Communication Authority of Kenya. And particularly if you are on their website, they keep alerting us on what exactly is happening. They talked about the WannaCry thing. They talked about the recent Petri, or what was the name? I think Petya. They actually send WhatsApp messages. They actually email. They let us know. I think we are really moving somewhere. So things have changed for the better. And I'm grateful for the Ministry of ICT and other IT professionals for taking up this. But I think it is that attitude change which will move us forward. A lot of time there was that issue of, this may not affect me. Cybercrime is not for me, especially small and medium enterprises. They never thought these things would affect them. They were thinking that is meant for big corporations. Now, that attitude has changed. I'm glad about that. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so my panelists, this whole cyber security, cybercrime space feels like, I feel like we are always on a reactionary mode where, ransomware has happened and therefore we need policy. No Petya has happened and therefore we need a regulation. Is there like a consistent way of dealing with cybercrime that we can, all work together and make sure that we have a safe environment?
The attacks which we get are very dynamic. Right? We get, as time goes by, we get new inventions. There's a lot of innovation in cybercrime attacks. So it's a bit difficult that if we will say we will put lay down policies that will mitigate the various strains of cybercrime attacks which attack us. Basically, what we need to do is we need to be more together. We need to have what we call collaboration. We need to collaborate more and more, various sectors, be it private, government, be it academia, financial sectors, and we also need to open up more, because we are discovering that most people, Hare, have been suffering and they have not been talking about it. And if you suffer and you're not talking about it, then there is no way you can educate the next person who could be about to suffer from, or about to be engaged in such a suffering which you have suffered for before. So if when networks are going down, ICT administrators, ICT managers are busy restoring their backups. Sometimes they get 1 day backups, sometimes they get 1 week old backups, sometimes they don't have backups at all. They go back to manual. And it's a challenge. If you don't share that, then how would you assist your fellow ICT administrator, your fellow ICT manager in another institution who has not faced that problem, but the attack is imminent on their side? So my take is, yes, we can say we can put systems to proactively enable us to detect, but it's still very difficult. It's very dynamic. Out there, innovation is at its best. We also just need to up our games as Kenya, as a nation, and we collaborate in the various sectors which we operate in, and be able to work together and handle these things as they come. That's why we, in CA, we give those advisories, because we realize, yes, some of the techies would know that ransomware is dangerous and it can hold down their systems, but there are still so many other ICT administrators, especially in government, who have no idea what ransomware is all about, and yet they're in charge of a very big network, in some cases about 2,000 computers. So you need to alert them and inform them in good time, like this can happen to you. Do you have backups? Take backups right now before it happens to you, so that you're able to restore and not go back to a very old backup which is not going to help you.
Okay, I agree with the collaboration. I think it's very important, and information sharing, so that we're able to share experiences and better hone in on the issues that we're facing, as a community. With regard to being very reactionary, I think legally in the law you won't find ransomware or DDoS or very specific definitions of attacks, but they do try to generalize it, so that it is kind of it's all accommodated. So we're looking at unauthorized access or unauthorized interference, unauthorized interception. So all these cover your ransomware, DDoS. But even with all that, I think the key thing we need is A, collaboration, and B is awareness. Awareness amongst the users mostly, so that they are also not, even if they are reactionary, it's quick, it's relevant, and they know exactly what to do in the event of that. So once you have your systems in place, your technological tools in place to protect you, awareness is, actually I think awareness should come first, and then your tools and technology should then come next to protect you with the awareness in place, and that will help us be less reactionary and more aware, alive to these threats that we're facing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. I think I agree with what my co-panelists have said, and I think there's different levels of being proactive and maybe taking a lot of some measures to protect yourself. I agree with you when he says that you may not necessarily be able to deal with everything 100%, because it's a very dynamic environment. There's a lot of innovation. There are people who are constantly innovating around how to launch the next threat. But even having said that, I think there is still a lot of room to protect ourselves in advance. And like I mentioned earlier, from the government front and also from the institutions, we could actually strengthen institutions a lot more. Maybe invest in more resilient networks, for example, investing in the teams that are able to constantly look out for these kinds of threats, so that they are also trained in how to check for these kinds of things, and they're very savvy with developments in that space. It's also important to have, I think, users of services to be aware of what exactly they're signing up to when it comes to the products that they have on their phones. For example, you find a lot of time, and I think that is what Lilian was also trying to talk about. There's a lot of exposure to youth, for example, and children, because they will sign up to things and will start to give information without knowing what safeguards they need to put in place So for example, maybe I think that ICTs and other organizations that are providing services ought to do a lot more in terms of empowering the users of those services. And the users of the services themselves also would need to ask a little more maybe, or take a little more interest in what can they do to safeguard themselves when they're online or when they're in the cyberspace. So I think there is a bit of initiative that ought to be taken by both users as well as institutions to just ensure that they are ahead of time. There's for all of us, I think there's also the global standard that we can ascribe to that would also be able to help us know what to check against or how to be prepared alongside those who've already gone ahead of us. So we benchmark and see, are we ready yet? So institutions such as the CERT, for instance, can ensure that if they're the watchdog for the country on issues cyberspace, are we there yet as a country? Are we, measuring ourselves up to the global standards that are there on these matters?
Maybe just back up a bit. I back up a bit on CERT. Does everybody know what the KE-CIRT is? Show of hands. Okay, maybe you can just tell me what it is and what you do.
Okay, so the National KE-CIRT is in full. It stands for Computer Incidents Response Team for Kenya. Now, we call it national because they look at Kenya at large, right, nationally. And basically what we do is handle the various cyber threats which are reported to us, and also to be able to coordinate, of course, reactively and sometimes proactively, the various responses towards the cyber threats which are mostly targeted to various institutions, be it public or private or government in Kenya. So what we do, we send technical advisories to all the potential affected citizens of Kenya, informing them of the looming dangers. And on top of that, also we create capacity, build awareness, and also train various sectors. And more importantly, we ensure that we have collaboration locally with the various stakeholders on cybersecurity, be it in internet, the desktop, the academia, financial institutions, and we encourage the formation of sector CERTs. Like for example, as we speak right now, the academia have now formed their own sector CERT through Kenneth. And the financial sector is on its way. I think if it's not already established, it's about to, among other sector CERTs, so that we have more and more coordination and building points of contact within Kenya where how this can be coordinated by us nationally. Also, I mentioned about ensuring secure communication, especially for government agencies. We work together with internet, like for example, to ensure with ICT authority, which have their own center CERT for government, to ensure that like all the websites where you get services from e-citizen, they're all secure and safe. And more importantly, we actually build capacity. Like a month ago, we have actually been training a number of government officers from various ministries and departments, almost 80 of them. And we were looking at two main topics, one being the adoption of IPv6, which is a looming depletion of IPv4, and also how to establish sector CERTs and how to handle incidents within their various respective stations.
Great. So that's what the KE-CIRT is. Now I want to turn to CSK. As a professional body, are there any specific initiatives that CSK is doing to make sure that the IT managers, the IT administrators, who are your members, have some level of awareness in terms of cybersecurity?
Absolutely correct. What CSK has been doing over the years, this year alone, I think we have had 3 conferences. The last one was actually a month ago. go for security issues, especially focusing on cyber security. The conference was in Mombasa 1 month ago, and it was targeting security of personnel in this country. I think we had an attendance of about 55 of them, which I thought was a small number. So actually we have fora where they discuss exactly what's happening in the country, and we get reports. Now these reports can be shared or should be shared actually with all of us on their website. We also have another security conference coming up this July, I think around 23rd. And again, we are targeting security personnel, CIOs, those ICTA staff, we call them ICTA guys. And in fact, last time they were also there in Mombasa. So yes, the short end of the answer is we do have fora where security guys discuss cyber situation in Kenya. And last time, if I remember very well, I think Kimani, is it Kimani of Serianu. By the way, their report came out very well, and I think is one of the reports which we relied a lot on to discuss as far as security, cyber security in Kenya is concerned. Thank you very much.
Okay, so for me, you want to? Okay.
I wanted to mention something in regards to systems and what is working for us as Child Online Protection Network team. We are educating everyone that we're working around with, that is the police. We are also educating the teachers, we're educating the lawyers. Because if a case comes to me, I have to report it to a police officer, I have to report it to KE-CIRT. So empowering everyone around who works with children directly, that has been a lot of help. Because they know exactly who to report to, where to go, what will happen once the report is done. So I stand with creating systems and enforcing them to work out. Yeah.
Okay, great. I come from the business side. Now, we'll open the question and answer after this question to my panelists. So if you have a question, you can line up. But from the business side, and this is to you, Mercy, how are companies prepared to handle cybersecurity?
I'll speak for Safaricom, because that is where I would have loved to be able to ably speak for the rest, but unfortunately I don't have that. For Safaricom, we are heavily invested in ensuring that the network is very secure. You know that we offer very sensitive services. We also hold confidential information, I'd say, for most of our, for all of our subscribers rather. And so it is of paramount importance that the security of our system is solid. And so what we have is very resilient networks. We constantly invest in the newest technology possible to ensure that that is robust at all times. Over and above that, we have a very dedicated team that is trained very, very well at global levels that are constantly participating in this. I involved rather in ensuring that we have a tight loop around security matters, so to avoid any attacks. It is not to say that we don't have many attempts on our network, we do, but most of those are foiled because of having the kind of investment we've done on our network. Over and above that, we try a lot to also try and we pick insights from what we see happening around, even on the attempts that are being made on our network, and even from some of the complaints we hear from some of our customers when they've been, maybe there's been some social engineering attempts on them to get information to compromise their lines and things like that. So we try to empower the customers themselves by informing them about what they can do to be safe. Don't share your PIN, for example. We give information like that, that's basic. We try to tell them what to do when that happens. If something were to happen to you, we have open channels and have dedicated resources to address those kinds of concerns. So for example, if an attempt is made to defraud you, either with your money or for somebody to swap your line or whatever, or get some information from you, we have 3 contact points that are very quick to you to come to. We have our online care, which is Twitter, Facebook, and we have a dedicated team, again, sitting constantly responding to all of those things that are raised on that platform. We also have the retail centers. You can walk into any Safaricom shop. The branding is very clear. Now we've changed it to Safaricom Taweza. You will still be able to pick it out. We have an able team again there that is able to guide on what to do in case a customer has been compromised or is worried, concerned about something happening to them. And then lastly, we have the call centers that have, again, thousands of agents that sit to listen to our customers. So we have not only secured ourselves internally in terms of ensuring that our network is very resilient from this and having an able team that is tackling that, but we've also done the same to empower the customer. It is not to say that it is 100% thorough. Every day we are learning and every day we are trying to stay ahead of the game. Over and above that, we are collaborating a lot with other stakeholders. So we work very closely with the CA to ensure that we stem any cyber attacks and even share information across the networks themselves, that if we pick up issues, then we are able to flag it across the networks, and those things, if it's something that can be taken down, is taken down, or the right channels are followed. And also working closely with law enforcement to ensure there's prosecution of any attempts if we are able to have it investigated and brought to book. So there's a lot we're doing as a company to ensure that we have the security of information we are holding, of our own systems and the business that we're carrying on assured at all times. Yeah.
As a consultant, do you feel like the companies are prepared? As a consultant, do you feel like companies are prepared for cybercrime?
To be honest, we are not yet there. From our understanding of just businesses and how we're operating, is we are getting to a level of awareness where we're understanding that cybercrime and cyber threats are actually hitting us. I think the whole panel has talked about collaboration in terms of what we need to do, collaboration and awareness. Because what is happening in the market and in the industries is people have stopped trying to hack systems. They're now trying to hack the users. So what that means is, I think Masi has talked about the kind of infrastructure that most organizations are putting in place. You're spending a lot of money trying to secure your infrastructure, and what hackers have realized is now moving forward, it's too much work to hit the systems and trying to find weaknesses within the systems, when I can actually use a phishing attack or a smishing attack. And we've seen that rising, not just in Kenya, but also even in our neighboring countries. And what that means is, I can send you an email posing as someone in C-level telling you, please process this transaction. I've been caught by traffic police and I need the bail money, or something like that. And because it's coming from the top, you tend to react. And this is social engineering at its best. It uses fear and it uses urgency to make sure that you don't question what is coming in. And at the end of that conversation, what ends up happening is that individual will pass a transaction and help the malicious individual commit fraud. So when I say we're not yet there, what I'm talking about is that level of awareness within our teams. We've secured our systems within the businesses, within even a majority of our businesses. But when it comes down to the individuals who are actually engaging with these systems, do they understand when an email of that kind or an SMS of that kind comes in, what am I supposed to do? Most of the people who understand that this is an attack keep silent, they just ignore the email. But these individuals, these malicious agents are still out there trying to hit organizations. They're not even hitting the big boys anymore. They're not hitting tier 1 banks. They're hitting microfinance and circles. Because they understand the training on that level is actually being taken seriously. But now when it comes to the small organizations, there's an adverse or shortage of that training and that level of awareness. So we need to start growing that level of awareness within our teams. We make sure, yes, the systems are safeguarded, but also our people. When it comes now to even individuals who we place a lot of trust on, when it comes to administrators, we need to also protect them. What I mean by that is we've seen in the market, this is actually in 2017, where cartels and fraudsters are actually trying to identify individuals within the organizations who have the credentials that they need. And they either use coercion or persuasion to get that kind of access. So we need, as organizations, we also need to come and think about the people who are we putting in those positions. How are we safeguarding them? Are we making sure that even if we're putting them in a position of trust, it's not whole trust, it's not 100% trust. There are actually controls that we're putting in place to protect them and protect ourselves from that kind of access.
Okay, great. You have something to add? Quickly?
Sorry, moderator, I need to take you back to the first question. There was a question you raised actually, why we are just being reactive as a country. I think we need to start from the top. We need a proper policy, ICT policy or ICT governance policy right at the top, and then that should now be cascaded down to the company, individual levels, and so on.
I think who implements those policies?
Right. I think that's we now have the Ministry of ICT, right? And I think that's where to start. Once we have that at the top, and it is properly articulated and written down and can be enforced in a court of law, I think we are able to kickstart the idea of handling cybercrime in this country. I remember, I think it was last year, was it last year but one, this guy who was, I think in Malindi, he hacked into somebody's email, I think it was a director in a hotel, and the court actually found him guilty and he was jailed. And that's what I'm talking about. So if the policies can come from the top, and then they will be implemented, and then now we have the courts and the judges can now use that to make a ruling. Otherwise, in fact, we may be able to move forward faster if we start from the top, and then every company adopts what we call individual company IT governance policies. And then the other thing is implementation. Implementation of some of these things will depend on what security framework we are using. We have international frameworks. In fact, I'm aware of ISO 27001. That is a wonderful framework being practiced and used all over the world. Why can't we adopt it? And in fact, it will help us. Thank you.
Okay, from the audience, anybody with a question? As you're walking in, Juliet, I'm sure you have something to say about the laws and policies. Sometimes I feel like, we're just checking boxes.
Okay, I first of all, I agree with the adoption of ISO. I also think it should be a legal requirement. Right now, it's more of a business standard that organizations are adopting for their own benefit. But if it was a legal standard, it's not very costly. It's not one of those very big investments you have to make, but it does go a long way in increasing that awareness within your organization. So that I agree with in terms of policy. Again, implementation is a big question mark. You can have situations, policies, and various laws, but implementation can be a real problem. And I think that's kind of where we are stuck right now, because we do have a national ICT policy. We have a draft. Again, this is yet to come into force. But basically what I see is the problem comes from the top sometimes, is that even bringing out or developing these laws is a bit of a challenge. And so implementation is kind of the furthest thing from your mind at that point. If bringing the laws into force in itself seems to be a challenge. But organization and probably other regulatory and sectoral initiative, you can see the CDK is starting to has released a guidance note on cyber risk. It's still in draft, but it's something that looks like it's being done expeditiously. It's trying to address the concern as it arises. And I think such initiatives, although it only currently applies to the banking sector, if adopted by other sectors, such initiatives could be more, could have more impact than trying to have a national policy to address cybercrime. So how about sectorally we address it, and then that will then build up to a national approach to the issue. Because sectorally it's much easier to manage. The CBK can easily manage its licensees, CA can easily manage its licensees, and so on and so forth. So that could be one way to address it, in terms of policy and implementation.
Just one minute, on the ISO 27001 adoption, actually in government right now, all MDAs, ministries, departments and agencies, as part of the performance contracting requirements, they are all required to at least train, I think, 5 people in the institutions on ISO 27001. And this is in readiness. Maybe the next level of requirement will be to start certifying ISO 27001. Currently, I think it's only Communications Authority of Kenya who is the only certified ISO 27001 in Kenya. But I think Safaricom is almost there. So it's now certified among other organizations.
Okay, great. So let's start with the lonely guy. State your name, your organization, then answer your question. Make it succinct.
My name is Moses Karanja from Strathmore Law School, and this question goes to the Communication Authority in reference to the centralization of cybersecurity preparedness and detection. There have been reports, and most recently yesterday, a report by Privacy International documenting how cybersecurity preparedness has been worked between different agencies, but worryingly towards the National Intelligence Service. So this whole idea of taking cybersecurity as a national security issue and now working with internet service providers, and it's good that Mercy is here from Safaricom. Maybe we can also talk about how that is faring. If we are talking about cybersecurity without also looking at how that has been in the past in terms of surveillance, I think we are exposing ourselves even much, the vulnerability.
Question, what is the question?
That's the question I'm trying to raise. The Communication Authority's role or say in this around the centralization of cybersecurity technical work.
Okay, so we'll take the next one from here.
Okay, thank you, Hare, for running such a well-articulated panel. My name is Mburu from Afrinic and Internet. My question will go to CA and an ISP like Safaricom. And we know that IPv6 actually implements IP security better than IPv4. I want to thank Nzano for raising IPv6 issue on this panel, but I want to know specifically what you are doing to deploy IPv6, especially in Kenya, and even with the ISPs, because we know Africa has been left behind in the IPv6 revolution. We are that continent when, as far as that is concerned, as compared to maybe Asia or maybe Europe and America. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll take another question from here.
Hello, my name is Liz Orembo again from KE-CIRT Action Network, and my question goes to Nzano. So,
ask anybody else? Yeah?
Okay, anyone who can answer. But I'm referring to the PD's speech where he mentioned something about mutual legal assistance across Africa. I'd like to ask some of the challenges you guys are facing in regards to Africa being at different levels of technology, and how the civil society can also engage in relation to that and just protect that human rights are, there's a balance of human rights and security.
Okay, I think Joseph just answer those questions, then we'll take the next questions.
Right. With the last question, I will request Juliet to explain more what the MLA is all about. I think you can take that one. But basically, now back to Moses' question. And I think mostly Moses was looking at why centralized responses on preparedness and collaboration. If you look worldwide right now, most countries actually, including UK, I think in January, Serianu can attest to this. Most countries are now forming what they call the National Collaboration Center, more like an NCC. UK did that in January. And I think, if I'm not wrong, US is going in that direction, despite of having established so many other, they have the US CERT, they have the Homeland Security that is take care of security, having all angles, but at the end of the day, you don't need one national point of contact, where it's easy. For example, if you have an incident, let's say between ourselves and, let's say I can pick a country like Uganda, it's much easier if you have an incident, let's say in the banking sector, that you want to alert, maybe it's emanating from a banking sector in Uganda. It's much easier for the National Coordination Center to reach out to the National Coordination Center of Uganda and technically resolve the issue, and also involve the necessary law enforcement and the investigative agencies to bring the perpetrators to book in a faster way than to follow the long method which Juliet will talk to of MLA, which I personally find it to be very, very long. And when we are handling cyber threats or cyber incidents, time is of the essence. The faster you are able to mitigate and to solve an incident, then the better the situation is for the victim, because you'll be able to save them out of a problem. But maybe I hope I answered Moses' question, and maybe we could still engage further to understand better what I really wanted to find out more on. If I could go to Mwendwa, as government we have realized that IPv6 is an issue, and we picked this from some of the international forums. And IPv4 actually, if I'm not mistaken, is depleting sometime next year in March. There will be no more IPv4 addresses for Africa completely. So as we started addressing this thing, first of all, seeing ourselves as government, what we can do. No doubt about it, government is one of the major consumers of IP addresses. That we found out, and because of that, we saw that the first thing is let's get all the, actually we engaged all the system administrators from all ministries, from all government agencies, and from all departments of government, and we put them together in a room, and we told them, folks, there's something called IPv6, and you guys are using IPv4, and next year in March it will no longer be there. So we explained to them what are the benefits of IPv6, how it is more secure, how it can reduce even cyber incidents, even nationally, and in government agencies. And we even partnered with other organizations, the Commonwealth Communications Organization. And this year, you are going to see, I mean, this financial year, sorry, our year just began on 1st of July. This financial year, we are going to see a lot of more aggressive campaigns on IPv6 as we head towards 2018 March. So we wouldn't want government to be found, to be caught unawares in this. So we are also working on revising. Most probably we will engage stakeholders and see how best we can put on board the internet service providers, the people who actually dish out these IP addresses, and more importantly also KE, so that we can educate also the private sector and mostly the internet service providers on why now we should move to IPv6. I think Liz will do the other one.
Juliet, the question was by Liz. So the question was about mutual legal assistance, which is, as the name suggests, it's a Mutual Legal Assistance Act we have in Kenya, which is supposed to facilitate, as the name suggests, assistance to jurisdiction and all signatories to the treaty should be able to assist each other in the event of trying to prosecute or investigate certain incidents. And with cybercrime, I think it's become a bit challenging because, as Nzano mentioned, it's very sensitive information. Digital evidence is very easy to manipulate and delete and totally get rid of. And so I think, again, also mentioned was the issue of Africa and the different levels of technology, different levels of advancement in technology. And to remedy this, the AU had a cybersecurity draft, a convention on cybersecurity and data protection, which also included elements of human rights, which was to cut across all member states. Unfortunately, this was not adopted by all countries, by most countries. And so beyond having an issue of varying technological advancement levels in the countries, we now have varying levels of legal development as well. So some countries have cybersecurity and data protection laws, some do not. Some have included human rights perspectives, some have not. And so it's again increases the challenge that we're facing. And what I know from a civil society perspective is, say like KE-CIRT and other bodies in the region have been doing an Africa capacity building initiative on specifically cybersecurity. And this is good because you are able to come and share your experiences and the different experiences in different countries, what happens in Ghana, what happens in Cameroon, what happens in Uganda. And through that, we're able to contribute, even though in the face of a lack of laws and very clear provisions, is to at least have a structure coming from civil society. So that is what I would say is the best approach from civil society, is to engage with each other across the continent and I think the more noise that you're making or the more engagement that you're having, the more impact you can then have on standardizing or creating a better platform for collaboration beyond just our borders across the region.
Great. Let's take the next two.
My name is Mark Aminto from Mobile for Good Solutions. My question is directed to Masi from Safaricom about cyber security. I'm asking about the unsolicited SMS, most likely vulnerable clients get that are value-added services that people have not subscribed to. And then you find that the value-added service providers are not even penalized for that. Even when they report, what they do is just say that they stop that. The second question, specifically about the slowness of the response, and this concerns the enforcement agencies, especially the police. You find that there are people who call you, soliciting money from you. They say those people are in jail. Maybe they say that, can you send this number, can you send this bill? People report, or maybe you find that you've been frauded through your person. But when you start the process, as the fellow said, it's so cumbersome that most people actually give up. What is the check that you're doing between you and the enforcement agencies so that these people who are actually embarked on these cyber crimes are taken into account as fast as possible? Thank you.
I'm Willis Nadida. I'm a teacher at St. Mary's School. So you see my student has given me a chance to speak before him. My question is this. From the presentation I've had from you, you seem to focus more on cybersecurity issues that touch on corporate and corporate users. And my worry is that you seem to forget that majority of Kenyans right now are accessing the internet through mobile facilities like smartphones. And a very large percentage of Kenyans now are online. Banks have pushed us to online banking. We are shopping online. We are living with M-Pesa and all that. And this people seem to have forgotten this user in the sense that we are now not training them on the risks they're exposing themselves to when they go online, and therefore on how they can keep themselves safe. And we're forgetting that some of these users are also responsible users at corporate level. And when they go back home, they have their smartphones being accessed by their children. And their children don't know the risks they expose themselves as they use these facilities at home. And therefore start running the risk of having your systems infiltrated by hackers through piggyback mechanisms. Because children will use your gadgets, go to or use them in an unsecure manner, and then hackers get in through your children while you're at home. And then also, please remember that at school level, we don't seem to have a system whereby this can be passed down to children, particularly like, for instance, integrating the teaching of ICT or empowering teachers so that during their delivery of their various subject areas, not necessarily through ICT, teachers can also create awareness on the risks that children will be running as they go online. Because as you'll agree with me, I probably, if I'm not wrong, maybe 70 to 80% of people who are now accessing the internet through smartphones are young persons, not probably people of our age. So that's my challenge to you, and thank you for it.
Okay, thank you. Very good point. Very good point. Next.
As you can see, I learned how to talk from my teacher. So I have one thing to ask. A lot has been said about policy, and I feel that the cybersecurity issues my generation face is not the same as yours. And my question to you is, in my opinion, personally, let me just say this, I don't think policy will do it. And something was raised regarding innovation, because currently the world is moving at a very fast pace. There's technologies like quantum computers that have been proven to, if they come to fruition, they will break every single encryption in the world we have today.
AI.
Yeah, we have quantum computers, AI, those kind of technologies. And those are the technologies my generation is going to face. So I'd like to ask, to what extent will investment in new technologies curb the cybersecurity issues we'll face not just today, but in the future? And the question is to the panel in general.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes, I do. Thank you for those questions. We'll start with questions from Mark about which are very specific to Safaricom, and I think it's generally maybe specific to mobile networks. But I'll speak for Safaricom again. On unsolicited messages, we actually, I think one of the things subscribers being the user, mobile users, would need to understand is that the value-added service providers, who we call PRSPs, premium service providers, are licensed by the Communications Authority. There are licensees similar to ourselves. They hold a license called the Content Service Provider License that allows them to push content to subscribers who opt into a service. Actually, the regulations and guidelines around this are very clear that a subscriber ought to have opted into a service before anything is pushed to them. So when you do receive messaging that is not, you are not, sorry. Oh, when you haven't received, you've received messaging that you are not subscribed to, it is what you're calling unsolicited. So for us as a company, we also hold a content service provider license. So when it comes to pushing out content, we are at the same level as that CSP. So they have, the regulator holds them accountable for messaging that they have held, they have pushed out that is not being opted into by the subscriber. And when you have cases like that, feel free to report them to your network, who will flag the issue with the Communications Authority, or you can flag them directly to the Communications Authority, who are able to come out now and do the penalties, take the relevant action against that PRSP, because their license does not allow them to send that messaging to you. But often at times, we have found that a lot of users have provided their details in various places. So for example, you go into a building and at the reception there you're required to give your details plus your mobile number, or you go into your favorite maybe restaurant or other place and you leave your details in various places. And we find that some of those kinds of lists are the ones that are ending up with PRSPs who will push messaging to you. So the action to ensure that the adherence or compliance to these regulations is actually the mandate of the CA, who are able to actually take action against the PRSPs. However, where a subscriber has raised that issue through ourselves, we also caution the PRSP if it's a PRSP who's pushing messages to our subscribers. So we do that, but then the final point is to escalate this PRSP to the regulator for action. So that is the one thing I think that you need to know. In regards to slowness to respond when a fraud happens, one of the things I think we also have realized, and I do not want to make a defense of it, maybe there is we need to see case by case. What is the issue? Maybe we could have a discussion later on, Mark. But a lot of times you find that customers will, for example, only try to make a call through the call center. And we only have as many number of call center agents. In fact, we have really increased the number. There's thousands of them, hundreds of thousands. But you find that options such as sending a text message, so for example, assuming a number has sent you a message pretending that they have sent you M-Pesa erroneously, which is a very common message people get. I've sent you M-Pesa on this number, please send it back to me. If you receive a message such as that, you are supposed to send that message as is, or just the number that has sent it to you, to 333, which is a very simple number to remember. It is our number for reporting any frauds. You can call it, but preferably text it, because then that message lands in front of the agent immediately and action will start to be taken to address. So if there was an issue of fraud, they will immediately either contact you to clarify or start to do the process of reversal, because they're able to tell the number is probably defrauding more than one subscriber. They're able to quickly start to do their checks on the end. Over and above that, forget that number 333, which is actually an important number not to forget. You also have the option, if you're a prepaid subscriber, you know the number 100 that you call when you're calling for different issues at the call center? That number, you can also text it. I think a lot of customers also don't know that. that you can actually text that number as well. And even if you find the line is jammed and you can't be able to get through, text that number with whatever your message is. Assuming it is a fraud issue, push the message as is that came to you and mention that this is a fraud or something you're suspicious or concerned about, and that will be resolved. If you're on postpaid, then the number is 200, and you do the same. You can push a message to it and there will be somebody to action it quickly. Over and above that, why I said it is on a case-by-case basis. If a fraud has happened, that is already a crime. What is required of us by law, we do not hold any prosecutorial powers ourselves as an organization, and what we would do is we have to follow the law, which is this is a crime has happened, it needs to be reported at the police station, and then now the process of engaging from there happens. So for us, you flag it with us, we'll ask you if you've gone to the police. If you have, then we'll require that OB number or that you have reported at the police station. And then now we'll flag it to the law enforcement. We work with law enforcement very, very closely. So when you have reported a matter to the police, it is easy now to follow it from there. But if you have not taken the initial steps yourself, you will delay the resolution of your case. So it is important that you also play your part in making sure that as quickly as possible you report the matter and then come to us. Because then a criminal is out there and needs to be arrested or dealt with in the manner that a criminal would be dealt with. So it would be good if there's a particular case of concern to you, Mark, bring it up so that we can have a conversation about it, and then we can see how to resolve. But those generally will be the options available to you. And then Willis was asking about the safety of users, and I thought it would just be important to mention it. In regards to safety of users, we at Safaricom we have a number of initiatives, some of which are already ongoing and have been implemented, but we have a big agenda coming ahead of us. We look at our customers in two ways. We have customers who are enterprise businesses, so companies and sole proprietors and others. But we also have individual customers, so a mobile subscriber who's using their phone. Now, for those, we are working very closely to under the Communications Authority. There is an initiative, a national initiative to address issues of online safety, and we are working through that to ensure that there is something that we do as a country. The process is taking maybe a lot longer than it should. I agree that maybe we could move a lot faster to ensure that happens. But within Safaricom as an organization, what we're doing is we are trying to make sure that we are packaging together, and this you will see in the coming days, safety, I'd call them tools that will allow safe passage, as you're going into the internet and other spaces that you're using through our network, to give you more security around that. But again, remember you have a lot of people ready to care for you on the Safaricom front. If you feel that you are uncertain about something, even if it is on how to use your device, because we even give simple guidance on things like that. How do I have a Nokia? How do I, implement the safety features? But over and above that, I think also on your part as an individual, which is what I was trying to say earlier, it's important to take some initiative to understand the device or and the services that you're using and see how you can safeguard yourself. An organization like Facebook and Facebook actually has put, for example, a lot of features on their service on what you can do to notify them about an incident that you're unhappy with, report it so that they can take it down. They have put features to safeguard yourself. You don't want everyone to see your information. Or if you think you've seen inappropriate content, for example, some people circulate videos that are very horrifying, they are actually probably criminal actions that have happened and we are circulating them within ourselves in Facebook, for example. You have options on how to take those down or to report it to Facebook so that they can take it down, because they're not able to see all those things at the same time that you have. But what we tend to do as individuals is we keep circulating and sharing the news like, have you seen? Even things like an accident scene, things that you shouldn't have, because they shouldn't be out there being seen in that form or shape. So we need to be more proactive ourselves in learning and it's a simple thing. Just go to the settings. A lot of times, for example, I have children, and when I leave a device that for them to be able to call, and it's not for them, it's actually for the nanny. Because remember, there's also the responsibility of you as the guardian or parent at home when you're dealing with minors. Because you give the examples of people who are young. Ideally, they should be dealing with these things under your guidance. You shouldn't be clueless about what they're doing with their devices. There should be some effort on your part to educate them or even to enforce some security features. So it's simple things like going to your phone settings or going onto YouTube, if it is YouTube where they're seeing some content, go to the settings and just enable some restrictions and enter a password or code. They will never be able to see those things. My children cannot see anything that is above age 4. They are older than that. But those kinds of things are things you can take some initiative to do. Many people don't know that they can do that, and it's a very simple thing. Just learn your device, learn the service you're doing. Settings, you'll find restrictions or security options always on most services. So that would be useful. And I think that is it for me for now. And I would apply to teachers again to how to empower them. Yeah.
Okay, I think in the interest of time, I'll just mention that at the authority we run also a consumer protection mandate, for which in the event that you feel aggrieved that when you go to the operators, like Safaricom for example, and you find that you are not handled in the best of ways, you can actually report to the Communications Authority. The email is chukwa@ca.go.ke, and then from there we will deal with them depending on the licensing conditions.
I like that. We'll deal with them.
Among other ways. I mean, Safaricom knows that. I think we have met in the boardroom a couple of times over some of the incidents. So another thing that I like to say is that whenever, as an operator or provider, you are giving out a service, maybe a bank, Safaricom, or an operator, whenever you are giving a service to the public, which requires online interaction, you also have a responsibility of building capacity on awareness and security of the services you are offering. I really like to thank Facebook because they have really, despite of providing the Facebook facilities to all, they provide ways of how you can take down a page through your own motion, how you can complain whenever a wrong thing is indicated. So each and every service provider has that obligation. And in the authority, whoever we have given license to, there is a license condition which demands that whatever services you are giving to your people is secure and safe.
Great. Anybody who wants to contribute to?
I wanted to contribute in regards to the training of the teachers. Last year actually we trained over 3,000 teachers, but I know this is not enough. 2 months ago we trained the staff from TSC headquarters to be able to disseminate the information also to the teachers who work under the TSC. So we are doing something about it, but we also need a lot of collaboration from government and other institutions to be able to reach out to all the other teachers in the different localities and counties.
I think I'll also comment on the question about innovation and the problems facing the youth. First of all, Teacher Willis, thank you very much for bringing your students along for this forum. I think the eloquency that he's expressed his concern when it comes to the youth is it's been very well done. So the question you're asking, I think you pointed out that when we're talking about, the panel has mentioned policy being a big issue. How do we translate the issues that we're saying in terms of corporates and businesses, and how do we address cybersecurity when it comes to the youth? And you've pointed out that there's a gap in terms of our understanding of the youth, of the challenges that are faced by the youth interfacing with technology are very different from the challenges a business faces. And I think Watoto Watch is actually trying to impact that level. But what I would say to that as well is, we've talked about the innovation and the rate of technology, the way technology is changing. You've mentioned quantum computing, you've mentioned AI. We're growing at such a phenomenal rate that even as we talk about policies and frameworks and standards, there's still a lot that is left open. We're talking about even Bitcoin and online currencies. And what this means is, even as we grow when it comes to cybersecurity, the threats are growing at an exponential rate. It's a scary thought, but it also brings up an opportunity for the youth, such as yourself. You've seen the need in terms of now addressing the risks that are being faced by the youth. And it is an open platform when it comes to cybersecurity. I think one thing the panel has all agreed upon is the idea of collaboration. So if we start collaborating with the youth, and I think Serianu has started doing that, we have a program that reaches out to university students where we call them in, and over the long holidays, we actually train them on cybersecurity. It's an open playing field. And if you're interested in it, and if other youth are interested in it, jump in, innovate, just as we are trying to do on our end. And we can collaborate on that.
Oh, there. I'm sorry. Yeah, Pauline Willis, I'm pretty impressed with your question, actually. Real quick, maybe we'll go to Mercy though, but it's attached to his question. We had an incident where there was an OLX transaction. I think most of us, or some of us, have used OLX for e-business, e-commerce and stuff. So the problem was, once the report was taken to the police, they of course go to Safaricom to get the details, I think the phone details and stuff. But when we followed up with the police, they were like, Safaricom is taking forever to process this information. Maybe Mercy could respond to this.
No, I will not allow that because of time. But also I think Mercy has eloquently explained what the process is. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give each panelist 30 seconds to do closing remarks. Make it tweet-size remark.
Okay, just to conclude, I think, and give an overall closing point, I think the issues are clear. There's a new age of crime that's coming in, and we're kind of been caught flat-footed, we don't know what to do about it. But I think collaboration, again, comes to mind. Awareness is really big, because if you don't know that you're even being attacked, then you don't even know where to start in addressing the issue. And just looking at the stats from the Serianu's report, I think that's the biggest place that we can start. And soon, just like any other crime or any other issues we're facing, we'll be able to create better solutions and better collaborative approaches, rather than everybody training the judiciary. Why not have a collaborative approach? The judiciary, the police, the prosecutors, why not have a collaborative approach? And different initiatives in that regard, I think, can go a long way in addressing the issue of cybercrime.
Yeah, in closing, I think I'd like to encourage that we take the initiative. I think it's very important. So often you would be able to counter a lot of the threats to yourself by just knowing and understanding the device you have, the services you're on, and feel free to reach out to Safaricom care desks and the online space as well for support on that. At Safaricom, we continue to look out for you in this cybersecurity space. Every year we sponsor what we call it's called the Africa Hackon Conference. You probably heard of it. It was there last month in June. And from there we get such a lot of insights. It's just basically a conference about those people who are interested in this area of cybersecurity, be they business people, from CIOs rather, or other people who are IT savvy that want to develop clever hacks. And from there we also get a lot of insights of what is happening, and be able to sponsor and to endorse a platform that allows for creative minds around IT to channel their creativity in positive ways, as opposed to going into hacking and being a threat. So at Safaricom, we're already trying to do that to encourage this space. We get a lot of responsible disclosures at those forums, people telling us, oh, by the way, I was trying your M-Pesa service and I think you have a bug in this, try this, and we get a lot of insights also for our products, which is good, and we're able to also pick up from you what it is that you'd like. So feel free to join in on that conference next time. It's there, it's every year. And we'll be introducing something called the Bug Bounty Program. Look out for it. The Bug Bounty Program will be a program to allow, again, IT creatives to just, test our products and services and tell us what they think, and what kinds of bugs we've picked up along the way, so on and so forth. And then there's a huge prize to be won for that. I think it's interesting. Look out for that. But if there's anything else you need to take from me, it should be number 333 for your safety and protection, 100, 200. And for you, let's have that case on aside. We can talk about it.
Okay, so me, I'll be very brief. I think first of all is urge all of us to be open. Report whenever you have a cyber incident. Don't fear to report. There are people out there who are ready to help you. KE incidents at KE-CIRT.go.ke. Those are our email addresses, or you can actually give a phone call, walk in, write to us, and we have 24/7 to assist you in all the cybersecurity issues. Secondly, I request most of us to invest on cybersecurity. Invest in capacity building through trainings, invest also in equipment and protection. Don't just wait for a hard hit cyber incident for you now to really realize that you have to invest. Finally, thank you so much for Internet allowing us to sit us in this panel, and we appreciate and congratulate you for the 10th IGF, and we look forward for the 11th.
As a closing remark, I think what I'll say for the private and the public sector, we want to talk about collaboration. The last aspect I'd like to add is remediation. We all have yearly audits or annual audits. Something we need to hold as auditors responsible for or accountable for is remediation clause within those contracts, whereby if we found 20 issues, let's fix them. So that when the next time they come in, we're actually in a better position and we're actually more secure than they found us. Otherwise, what we're doing is every year they're doing the same thing with the same results. So let's hold our auditors accountable.
One last thing I'd like to say is, for the people who are here, educate yourself to be able to educate your children. We cannot be there for all the children in Kenya as Watoto Network. But for you, educate yourself and so that you're able to educate your children also. Yeah.
Thank you very much. To wrap up, what I would like to say is that CSK is out to work with organizations like yours and all the other stakeholders in addressing cybersecurity issues affecting this country in a forum that is appropriate for all of us. So please do work with CSK. You can go to the website and exactly see when they have their own conferences and associations meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to quick, I won't even try to summarize this, but the key words: awareness, capacity building, collaboration, rapid, things are changing so quickly, but more importantly, cybersecurity, like security itself, starts with you. It starts with you. So please give a big round of applause to my panelists.